Hello, and welcome to the Family Histories Podcast, the show for those of us sat quietly in libraries, archives, and spare rooms all around the world, tirelessly piecing together our collective social and family history. My name is Andrew Martin. I'm a family historian, and I'll be your host. In this episode, The Physician, we'll be hearing about a polymath whose scientific mind helped to inspire two of our literary greats, and we're on the hunt for, a couple by the name of Smith in Melbourne, Australia. So, put down that old pile of letters, grab a cuppa, and let's meet our guest. My guest today is a family historian, author, storyteller, and in his own words, a story listener from New Zealand. He's also a fan of technology, and he blends these interests and skills to front the One Ancestor at a Time project to help people tell their family stories. So, before he listens and gets distracted by some juicy gossip drifting over from next door instead, I really should introduce my guest. It's Simon Young. Hello, Simon. Welcome to the Family Histories Podcast.
Hello, Andrew. Great to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. I'm really excited to have you as a guest on the show. So we always like to start with the same question, which is, what was it that got you interested in researching family history?
I love this question because it's like, what's the genealogy of your interest in genealogy?
Yes, yeah.
So I have many origin stories. Probably, if I track it back, the first point at which I started to become really interested was tragic, actually. So my father died when I was very young, and pardon the pun, because that's my last name as well. But I also wanted to connect with his side of the family, and they lived in a different place. We didn't have much opportunity to connect with them. So that kind of probably made me more interested than the average child in family history.
Sure.
There were other kind of inciting incidents as well. Braveheart was one. So seeing a movie that was completely historically inaccurate, but very compelling. And then 10 years later, finding out that I'm descended from Edward Longshanks.
Oh, okay.
Kind of reframing the way I looked at Braveheart. I was like, oh.
And was Edward Longshanks as you had imagined from the film, or?
I haven't actually done, I know that he has as an apologist apparently, but yes, I haven't gotten that far back in the detailed analysis of one ancestor at a time. I'm still somewhere in the 1800s.
Okay, so you got a little bit of time just yet.
A wee bit, yeah.
So where did you kind of first start researching? How did you research, and how did you learn to research?
I had been told that there was a family tree document. Mm-hmm. So my dad had 5 brothers, and I was told that each brother had one of these documents. When I was about 30 years old, I found out that no, it wasn't at our place. It was in the house where they all grew up.
Okay.
And so my uncle was moving house, and he said, I have this for you. And it was this brown paper bag filled with miscellaneous documents, but for me it was like the Holy Grail. It was like, wow, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and at last I have all this data.
Here it is.
So thankfully I had a lot that was already literally handed to me. It went back generations to, Edward Longshanks and beyond on my dad's side of the family. On my mum's side of the family also, we have 3 different books from 3 different branches of the family. So I've been blessed with relatives who are researchers, authors. They've done a lot of the groundwork for me. So,
oh, this is a dream.
Absolutely, yeah. So in terms of my own research, I basically had to put it somewhere. Mm-hmm. Started out with Family Tree Maker back in about 20 years ago, and didn't do much more than that, except I kept a GeniaNet account because I didn't want to, it was free or nearly free. They had a free offering. So that was kind of a place where I kept it parked for a while. And then in 2023, I started my master's project, Master of Technological Futures. And my topic was, how can technology help us tell better family stories? And so I started to research all of the platforms, spend a lot of money on Ancestry, MyHeritage, Find My Past, because a lot of my ancestors are from the UK, and Those are the main ones. Yeah.
So in this bag or big brown envelope that you were describing, you were saying there was lots of different things in there
Yes.
and that you had this kind of tree or pedigree.
It was pretty miscellaneous.
What was it like to kind of open that and discover it?
Oh, it was amazing. It was hand traced and then gestetned, the precursor to photocopy.
Oh, okay.
So my uncle had gone back to the UK in the 70s, gestetned all of these pages. They didn't have numbers on them, so I didn't really know which one went after which one.
Oh, that's not helpful. Okay.
There were two covers, so I'm not exactly sure how this whole body of work was meant to. It's a bit of a Rosetta Stone in a way, except for the part where it makes sense. But it did have names, it had dates, it had some people had biographical sketches, which was great. And when I first got this was about 20 years ago, so some of them had Wikipedia pages.
Nice.
Which was really good. Yeah.
Wow. And so as you're kind of looking back through this tree and seeing people who are obviously who have achieved things or are notorious for things or are nobility, were you also kind of following that up with just checking that? Because sometimes when people see family trees that kind of lean towards being nobility or royalty, they're sometimes a little bit embroidered.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. The checking, so some of the names were in Burke's Peerage, which to me, I don't know how to check beyond that.
Yeah.
But some of the closer people, so for example, my great-grandfather was a commander in the Royal Navy, injured in World War One, and he's the reason why, on my dad's side of the family, why I'm a New Zealander, because there was a scholarship for the sons of British servicemen who died or been injured in the war.
Ah, I see.
So back then I engaged a professional researcher in the UK to get his service record and all that kind of stuff, which was great. So much of that's doable digitally now, through Family Search, which is free, Ancestry, which has so much information. My Heritage has good deal of information as well. Yeah, so some of that verification was there. What I also found was that I didn't know my history. In New Zealand, our curriculum tended to begin in 1769 when Captain Cook discovered New Zealand.
Yes.
We didn't know much of our Indigenous history or much European history. And so I realized, I've got to read some contextual stuff around this to just get an idea of when you get primary documents, there's no context with them. They're written for somebody of that time who understands all the nuances, and it's been really interesting kind of unpicking that to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Having ChatGPT now is just incredible because I can have some very randomly specific question. So for example, on my recent trip to the UK, I got given my third great-grandfather's journal when he was 21 years old. He was a lieutenant with the British East India Company. He was painting pyramids in Egypt, and this is his journal of that trip.
Gosh.
Yeah. So I was, first of all, trying to make out his handwriting and then make out some of the words. So he was saying there was some trouble with our baggage and it was some word that I couldn't make out. It didn't make any sense. So I typed in what I thought it might be to ChatGPT and I said, look, this T could be a J or that kind of thing, but here's the whole context. And it goes, this is a word that was used to describe a customs official. And then it says, I settled it with some piastres. And it goes, piastres is currency. It was like, okay, it's a sentence describing bribery. All good.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the first page of the journal.
That's just the first page. Okay, so bribery's got in early there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Were there also many kind of old photographs and old certificates and that kind of thing amongst this kind of body of research?
Not in the brown paper bag, but my mum tended to be a photo magnet.
Oh, okay. That's good.
She was a bit of a hoarder, and so anytime anyone in the family died and there was a bunch of photos, they would come to us. So again, about 20 years ago, I went on a scanning rampage. It's like I just discovered you could increase the resolution. I was scanning photos at 600 dpi.
Wow, that's a lot. Yep.
We had a lot of photos from a little box brownie camera, so tiny photos, and then scan them, blow them up, and see what's in the photo. That was interesting, yeah. And I'm glad I did that then, because some of those photos now have all stuck together, or they've been exposed to damp and they've deteriorated. So, and I'm glad that at the time I was able to ask my mum for names and context of some kind, and she was able to give me quite a lot of answers.
Were your family quite supportive of you, of kind of taking this gauntlet of the family history and running with it afresh? Or were they thinking, oh, no, don't do that, it's all done?
No, sort of mild interest.
Okay, that's all right.
No opposition, but just sort of like, oh, that's cool. And especially since I've started doing the video series, One Ancestor at a Time, that's been really neat. I've had a lot of feedback from especially my dad's family, seeing the story, because sometimes we have all these memories, we have all these artifacts, but they're not consolidated into one thing. And the challenge I gave myself when I started doing the video series was, it has to be interesting not only to relatives but to the general public. Otherwise, why do a YouTube channel? And so it made me find, what is the angle? So as you mentioned, I'm an author, I'm a student of storytelling. I'm always watching and analyzing movies and going, why did that stick in my head? Why was that so good? And then looking at the same raw material and finding, okay, what's the angle for this? And it may not be the whole comprehensive story of their life, but it may be just something about them. So one of the stories is my great-grandfather, who came from London to New Zealand because his wife had tuberculosis and was given 6 months to live. She came to New Zealand, lived 30 more years. So that worked well.
Yeah, that's good treatment, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. History's very sexist. He was a man who was willing. I mean, it was also, she was willing too, so that's good. But he was willing to cross the furthest you can get from England for her health. But also I found a letter from my great aunt who described his younger years, and that he was a law clerk and his client was, so he was in Camberwell in London, and his client was in Acton, and he used to walk that distance, which I only went to London for the first time this year. So I'm like, I don't know. So I looked on Google Maps, 3.5 hours. Goodness me. Quite a jaunt.
Yeah, that's quite a walk.
Yeah, through Hyde Park. So it'd be nice and scenic, but still.
Yeah, that bit's nice.
He did like his long walks. Yeah. So the theme of the video was laid down right there. How far would you go for love? If it's 3.5 hours is not too far, then why not halfway around the world?
So when you began One Ancestor at a Time, what was the kind of overall aim? Because I have been watching some of the videos, and which I must say are beautifully put together. I love watching these stories that you're producing.
Thank you.
What was your aim for that site when you kind of set out, and has that changed as you've been doing it?
Yeah, so it was kind of the sense that I'd want to make sense of, so whereas other people have brick walls, I have stories to form and shape. There's that I think it was a Michelangelo thing of carving the carving out of a block of marble. And so I feel like with all the artifacts that I've been given, I've got lots of marble, and I'm trying to carve what is the concrete story in those. So there was just a sense that these stories just need to be told. I'm on a journey to contextualize history as well. Part of it was to, I guess, provide social commentary without preaching, because I feel like as a society, we tend to be historically illiterate, and there's the cliche, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And so, but I feel like the way to make history relevant is to know where you come in the game.
Yes.
And also, some of it's dealing with thorny issues like colonialism. So I live in a former colony. I'm married to a Samoan. Her people were victims of colonization not from Britain, but from New Zealand. And so that's a heck of a thing to unpick. Mm-hmm. And so my ancestors were part of the world's first big evil multinational corporate, the East India Company. And I want to show people that it's possible to love and honor your ancestors and also critique the things that they were part of.
Yeah.
Just as we hopefully are able to do with each other and ourselves these days, to be able to look calmly and rationally at our lives and go, oh, are we reflecting the highest values that we want to live by? And there's the whole thing of people go along with things that are present because they're present. And what is it today that our descendants may look back on and go, well, that wasn't that great, fossil fuels.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. Yeah. And I say descendants. So my wife and I can't have kids. And so partly originally I wanted to do a book, and then I thought that's only going to be somewhat interesting to my cousin's kids, but what if I could actually inspire people to tell their own family stories? So the long game of one ancestor is actually a platform that other people can use to do the same thing that I've been doing. Take the raw data, find the historical context and the story angle, and then communicate that. And so part of my research was interviewing a lot of genealogists who have said, I've spent 30 years researching. My greatest fear is that we'll all go in the bin after I'm gone. So make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's sad but true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's your favourite part of researching family history?
I think it's discovering new things,
Okay.
Whether that's an actual new artifact or a new story, or just finding the confluence of things that I hadn't seen before, like the 3.5-hour trip across London. Like, the aha moments, yeah.
Where do you think or hope that the family history industry or community might go next?
That's a really good question. There's next, and then there's sort of ultimately. So next, I feel like the same thing that I've realized, that storytelling is not that well supported. I feel like Ancestry is starting to do that better. I feel like My Heritage is making some tentative moves towards that, but they've got their legacy business of actually archiving and keeping records and providing hints. So I feel like there is a gap to get better at storytelling, and I feel like there's so many things that can come together with. For example, artificial intelligence, obviously, the ability to bring photos to life and create videos. And the whole thing has made me think about our generation and what future generations will have available to look at about us. And so even with my mum's things, there's lots of letters between all the aunts and uncles. And it's like, well, we don't have that at all now.
Yeah.
We might have emails, quite a different thing. We might have Facebook post archives, but there's just not the same sense of... And so this morning I was hearing a very interesting interview with a friend of mine who his wife passed away last year, and he's been creating kind of their AI daughter, because his wife had written so much and they'd created so much content together, and he's really consciously infusing that AI daughter with a personality and with the knowledge of the lost loved one.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought, wow, not so much to be an avatar of the lost loved one, because there's something kind of obscene about that, but more like a separate personality that is giving you light into that person. So I think that is, because sometimes I've looked at different cultures and how we do it, there is that sense of just communing with your ancestors, whether you take that super seriously as a literal thing, or just their genes residing in you, or just as an imaginative journey. It's quite a healthy thing. So technology may help us do that.
Ooh, time for a little advert break. If you are interested in learning more about family history research, why not take an online course? Pharos Tutors offers short online courses on a variety of family and local history topics. Whether you want to learn more about how to do your research, have a yearning to learn more about manorial records, or are interested in a formal certificate program. With over 50 courses ranging from beginners to advanced, there is something for everyone. Why not take a look at the course list today and plan something for the new year? Visit www.pharostutors.com. I love looking beyond the names and dates of my ancestors and trying to learn more about them through letters, newspapers, and other types of sources that help to tell the story of their daily lives. And sometimes this reveals incredible stories. Bearing this in mind, it's now time for my guest to choose one of their most fascinating relatives and then tell their life story. So, Simon, who are you going to introduce us to?
Okay, so the person I'd most love to have dinner with of all my ancestors is Dr. James Lind.
Okay.
Not to be confused with his cousin, Dr. James Lind, who discovered scurvy. But this James Lind was born in 1736 in just out of Edinburgh, which is now a suburb of Edinburgh. He became a physician. I had a conversation with a surgeon about the difference between between surgeons and physicians in the 1700s. So he was a physician with the East India Company, and while there he studied marsh fever.
Okay.
And that was his master's thesis, which I handled and looked at the Edinburgh University archives on my recent trip.
Wow.
So yeah, he was in the age of the polymath, where you were kind of expected to have your specialty, but then also want to know everything about everything else. And so he was, among polymaths, he was quite the polymath. So he pursued being a physician, but also learned as much as he could about everything else. So he was good mates with Sir Joseph Banks. He was supposed to go with Captain Cook on his second voyage to the Pacific, but he asked for cabins that were too big and asked for too much money and was turned down. And so as a sort of consolation prize, Sir Joseph Banks took him along to Iceland. And I think that was nothing to do with being a physician. It was more about observing the stars. So again, it was kind of this ridiculous age of discovery where you just kind of focused on everything. Being at Edinburgh University, he was a friend of David Hume, Adam Smith, who also worked in the company as well. Mm-hmm. Now, later in life, he went to live in Windsor and was quite close with the royal household.
Okay.
And there was a rumour that he was personal physician to George III, but that's not been confirmed. But he did tend to be known a bit more as almost a magician than a doctor. So he would be influenced by his friends like Benjamin Franklin and I can't remember his first name, but Galvani, who Galvanism was named after. And so he would get like dead frogs and use electricity to reanimate the limbs, which was a great party trick.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And it didn't do his reputation that much good as a doctor because people were more aware that they would get something interesting and innovative from him rather than safe and proven.
Yeah, it sort of comes with a bit of an edge in his treatment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He was neighbours with Herschel, the royal astronomer, who back in those days the telescope was in his backyard, and so there's a correspondence with them saying you must come over and see the new telescope. So again, astronomy, electricity, he was into everything. And later in life, he was a mentor at Eton College to some young students, including a young Percy Bysshe Shelley, who writes a lot about him in some of his work, saying this man looked after me or taught me, had an influence on me better than my father. Now, as we know, Percy Bysshe Shelley was married to Mary Shelley, who was the author of Frankenstein. Yeah. And so there is a theory that my fifth great-grandfather, James Lind, was the archetype for Frankenstein. Although Frankenstein was a young medical student, but still, this person who wanted to reanimate dead flesh with electricity.
How do you feel about that?
Fascinated. It gives me an angle straight away.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. He was a very eccentric person, so I don't think he would mind being known as the potential inspiration for Dr. Frankenstein. I don't mind at all. Yeah. So he lived out his last days in Windsor. He was buried in St. George's in London, and just ahead of my recent trip, I made some inquiries to see if I could maybe see where he was buried. Turns out they did a mass exhumation, and so the place where he was buried is now a comedy venue, which just somehow seems absolutely perfect.
Yes, it does. Wow.
Some of his humour still sort of remains in the things that he wrote. He was apparently very bad with money. He said, and this only makes sense with British currency, he says, my first letter of my last name is pound, and my last letter is pence, L and D. So I start with pounds and I end up with pence. It's like, wow.
And that pretty much fits in with comedians as well, because I don't think they're particularly well paid. So
that's absolutely true. Yeah, yeah. So I stumbled upon quite a few years ago a professor in Newcastle who has made it his kind of academic career to study this man in terms of his influence on Shelley and on other romantic poets. So I was able to have a great interview with him, and I asked him kind of what was Edinburgh like at that time, and he said It was a bit like Google, that if you had a mathematical question in the 1780s and you're in Edinburgh, you could probably yell it out a window and somebody would know the answer within earshot. It was this very dense area of just such an amount of knowledge, and the body of knowledge was not so big yet that you had very deep specialisms. Instead, everyone was somewhat of a generalist, and you could still be a generalist without being deliberately ignorant.
I'm just trying to imagine his LinkedIn profile. It must have just...
Oh my goodness.
It would have been wild with all of these different things that he could say
Absolutely.
that he could do, and all these different fields that he could work in.
100%. And so I asked this professor, Christopher Goulding, I said, if he was around today, what do you think he'd be doing? And essentially he said, somebody like Brian Cox or Neil deGrasse Tyson, like an entertainer, informative educationalist. Yeah, because that's the kind of thing that he tended to love, was actually communicating the sense of wonder of science. So that's Dr. James Lind.
Wow. What was his childhood like? Was there anything there that formed this kind of character later on?
That's a good line for future research. I don't know much about his sort of pre-university education. I know that he came from a semi-noble, it's through him that I've got the descent back to Edward Longshanks, but it was a lot of noble left turns, that's what I call them, when it's like the daughter of instead of the straight down sort of patrilineal line. Yeah, so
right, okay.
I mean, they're obviously in that kind of field. If he could be in the royal household as a sort of an honorary family member. It's an interesting question of like what cultivated that intense curiosity. I don't know. Good question.
Wow. And for descendants, were they following in his footsteps, or did they take the route of just rebelling and doing none of that?
They didn't really follow the scientific footsteps.
Okay.
They did follow the administrative footsteps. So his son, Alexander, was a judge. He ended up being a judge in India. The Indian connection stuck. So the Linds lived in India and then Australia for several generations.
Right.
His granddaughter, Emma, married one of my greats, Charles Young, and that's where we became the Youngs. But yeah, so the Indian connection stayed for quite a few generations. And so I've done my big UK trip. Well, it was a small UK trip. It was very short, but I did a lot. But the next one is India, and just really kind of having a look around there. First of all, finding all the different places, because it's a big place.
It would be a big trip, even if you only see a couple of things.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Definitely.
So does he have a long life, or what kind of happens to him in his later years?
He lived from 1736 to 1812. He was apparently quite ill in his later years. He had some kind of infection that kept him in quite a lot of pain, unfortunately. He died in the home of his son-in-law in Russell Square in London. So I went to the Russell Square tube station and I was like, oh yes, here we go. So he also was a Freemason and had also created his own cryptographic language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some rumour that he was part of the Illuminati and using that to secretly undermine the royal family from within. But that was in the same breath that it was mentioned in a book about kind of the Windsor crowd in the early 1800s. The author sort of brought it up and then said, that's a ridiculous idea. But I think Percy Shelley may have thought that there was something to it.
Yeah, to come up with his own language, that would be quite something.
I think it was just in him. Like, he also sort of pioneered a precursor to photography, which was doing profiles. So that's the only likeness we've got of him is his profile, but it's exact and accurate and done from not just by an artist's impression, but by his shadow being cast and capturing that. Yeah.
Would there be any, given his connections and his nobility line and the circles in which he moved, would there not be a painting of him somewhere?
Surprisingly, no. Well, there was an uncited Wikipedia thing that said there was a painting. And there was one painting that I saw, but I think it was a view of him from the back. It was three people on a balcony looking at some stellar event. So there was a painting, but that's not very helpful.
Yeah, I've been in photographs like that. I know how disappointing that can be.
Absolutely. It's like, that's me, honestly.
Wow. And so he was your how many times great great-grandfather?
He was my fifth great-grandfather.
And would you say that you would have liked to have known him?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So my wife once asked me, who would you like to sit down to dinner with? And he was kind of the top, just because of the times that he was in, the people that he knew, the kind of person that he was. A close contender was actually the same generation, but on the young side, over in Glasgow, who was my fifth great-grandfather, Professor John Young, and he was a professor of Greek, not quite so famous. Being in Glasgow and not Edinburgh, not quite so well connected,
Yes,
but
yeah.
he had a very progressive sense of how to make education interesting. And I think in that, I would love to talk with him because I feel exactly the same. That's what One Ancestor is all about, taking a topic that is often quite dry when you look at the raw material and making it accessible, making it exciting, like discovering the innate interestingness in it. That's how he felt about ancient Greek.
Yeah, nice. Well, I'm just trying to wonder now what your 5 times great-grandfather James Lind actually looked like, given all of the description of how he behaved, and he's electrocuting frogs and he's looking at the stars and just traveling and all that. I'm just trying to imagine what he would look like. So hopefully you'll stumble across a painting of him at some point that is very clearly sourced and has a nice provenance that you can say that is him.
Yes. 100%. 100% can say for sure he wore a wig and tights, as men will want to do those days. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Simon, for sharing the life story of Dr. James Lind. But I think it's now time for you to face
the brick wall.
Brick walls are a pain. I have so many of them, and it really is an eye-roll moment when I hit another dead end in the records. However, I also know that they can come tumbling down with just a little bit of help from our wonderful genealogy community, if only I asked for it. Therefore, it's your big moment, listeners, because my guest is now going to tell us about one of his brick walls in a hope that you can help turn it to brick dust. Okay, Simon, how can we help?
All right. So, as I said earlier, I have a lot of records from most branches of my family, but there's one branch that doesn't go back very far at all, and that is the Smith branch.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, perhaps not surprisingly, it's quite hard to find the right. So my second great-grandfather is George Henry Smith,
Okay.
born 1859 in Melbourne, Australia. He died in 1924 in Lower Hutt in Wellington. So about him, we have a lot. About his father, William, nothing at all. And William Smith, born, who knows? And I guess Smith comes from England, but I have heard of a lot of Scottish Smiths. So that's my brick wall. And to be honest, I haven't done a lot of work on this brick wall. So I'm aware that there's some Australian records that I can have a look at. But most of my tree got built out quite well when I joined Ancestry and started connecting up with other people's trees and verifying them, of course, making sure that there was documentary evidence. But yeah, William Smith, not so much.
So I guess from what you've just been saying, you don't even know which country William Smith is born in?
No, that's right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
His son George was born in 1859 in Melbourne. William may have already been in Australia, may have been born in Australia because 1788 they were kind of founded as a penal colony. He may have been a prisoner. All this wonderful stuff to find out.
Yeah.
Smith may be not the real name.
That's true, which would be a very difficult can of worms for any listener to solve. I challenge you, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, just finding William Smith in some kind of passenger records, if he came by his own efforts or sponsorship, or finding a William Smith who comes via the cheaper methods of being sent there for having done something,
Stolen some bread or something.
yeah, something that was deemed not suitable for the UK, I would assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is difficult. So I guess you have no idea of when William dies.
Not so much. It's all triangulated from George. And I'm just trying to think, do we have George's siblings? We don't. So we just have George's children, of which there are many, his wife.
Okay.
We do have William's wife's name, which is Hannah Darden. That's spelling may or may not be Dardin or something similar, but they're both just names on presumably the marriage certificate of George and his wife Jane.
Yeah. When was George married?
In 1883 in New Zealand.
And are there signatures on the certificate?
That is very good. No, this has come from the New Zealand Marriage Index. And interestingly, they're on the index after the date of their son's birth, which could be true or could be, the index could be wrong.
Sure. I was curious as to whether they sign as a witness at his marriage, and therefore you've got the evidence of where they might be. But, you're saying that he's married in New Zealand, which is obviously jumping from Australia as well. So
yes.
Did they go with him? Did they stay in Australia? Did they
go to New Zealand when George got married? Not sure. So yeah, two sources here for that marriage date is the New Zealand Marriage Index, which doesn't give a whole lot of details, and the Civil Registration Marriage Index, 1840 to 1901. So again, we don't have full records on ancestry. It's just a reference number to a file within the Department of Internal Affairs, which I'll have to follow up.
I have heard in a previous episode, I talked to Fiona Brooker, and she was talking about privacy for records in New Zealand can be really tough to work around.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't remember if she mentioned about any kind of date range, but hopefully these actual records won't be affected by that.
It's usually 99 years, so these people are well within the safe zone.
Well, fingers crossed, maybe a certificate will help to reveal whether they were present at that marriage, which might then lead you to solving it. But maybe one of our listeners could help you solve this. So what would be the best way for them to make contact with you if they think they have a clue or a research idea?
Yeah, so the best way would be to go to oneancestor.co, not .com. Oneancestor.co, there's a contact page there that'll reach me, but that's probably the best way to reach me. And subscribe while you're at it.
We'll, of course, put links to that site in this episode's show notes. And, of course, listeners can head over to familyhistoriespodcast.com where they can read those show notes and send us a message, or they can just email us at hello@familyhistoriespodcast.com and we'll pass that message along to Simon. Now, I think I can hear the listeners starting up their family history bulldozers in the distance. But before they get here to smash this brick wall, it's just possible that I can help you. But you'll need to follow me through to the garage.
Sounds good.
Here we go. This, Simon, is my secret time machine.
Oh, wow, this is incredible.
Thank you.
Did you build all this from scratch?
Oh, no. I've made some improvements, and my assistant Shandor has tinkered with it a little, but it was here when I bought the house.
Oh, that's strange. Is this an old car stereo?
Yes.
What?
No.
Oh, that. Well, that's a very technical piece of scientific equipment. It's whatchamacallit?
Dimensional resonance tuner.
Yes, that's it. See? This is a highly calibrated machine, and it takes a lot of skill to use it.
Okay, but surely that needs a lot of power to send somebody back in time?
Yes, that's true, and don't tell anyone, but I once caused a blackout across the whole of the south of England so that I could go back 20 minutes to buy some milk before my local shop closed. Since then, though, we have moved on to wind power, and potato power, and solar power. Oh, yeah, sorry. Now, I wondered whether you'd like to go back in time. Try and solve that brick wall for yourself.
Oh, that'd be great. Are you sure this thing is safe?
Mostly.
He means yes, but just don't go changing anything, or you might erase yourself. But I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. So, if you'd like to grab a seat over there, and I can get everything set up for you. Okay, when and where would you like to go to?
All right, I'd like to go to Melbourne, Australia, 1859.
Ah, I see. Well, the 1st of June looks free, so I'll put you in there. There you go, all set. Now you'll need to take this temporal beacon with you. It's your ticket home. Just press that big button on the top when you're ready to come back.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. Right, here we go. Simon Young, thank you, goodbye, and good luck.
Oh dear.
What?
Look.
But there's absolutely nothing wrong with Pontypridd in Wales. Oh, I guess that's a bit off, isn't it? The Family Histories podcast was presented and produced by me, Andrew Martin. My guest was the awesome Simon Young, with John Spike as Shandor Paturfi. If you've enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to tap follow or subscribe to get the next episode for free as soon as it's available. Thank you for listening. Approximately no family historians were harmed in the making of this podcast.